Something unusual has happened in the compound recently. The second son of the Gu family, a diplomat who has never been interested in women, is suddenly getting married, and his partner is not someone else, but his eldest. They all said this young widow from the countryside was shameless. Even though her husband was dead, she couldn't blame her brother-in-law. They also said Gu Yuanzhou was stupid. Marrying such a woman would definitely hinder his future, but no one expected that the country bumpkin they looked down upon was actually an all-rounder who could speak foreign languages, play the piano, be the top scorer in the college entrance examination, and do business. Not to mention that she was fertile and gave birth to 2 sons, which brought the dying Mr. Gu back from the brink of death. For a time, she became the lucky star of the Gu family. Many years later, Gu Yuanzhou has become the top diplomat, and the little woman is still by his side. Shen Minggu has always had a secret in her heart. The child in her belly is not her husband's. In the room of the guest house, the strange man demanded her extremely, and soon she became pregnant. Later, she remarried and planned to abort the child, but she found that her current husband looked more and more like the man she met that night in the guest. It was not until that day when the man got drunk and spoke the truth that she realized that fate was truly indescribable. I just graduated from college. And you want me to marry a slut who's pregnant? Why? I don't agree with this. I admit that you owe Big Brother, but you shouldn't use my happiness to repay me. At this time, the huge living room of the Gu family was crowded. The person who spoke was a handsome young man wearing white dacron who was frowning and complaining. Sitting opposite him was a middle-aged couple. The man wearing a Zhengshan suit and the woman wearing a white modified chain. Judging from their appearance and temperament, they both have extraordinary temperament. How dare you? What do you mean by a slut? That's you're not young anymore. Has this been the way your family raised you for so many years? The middle-aged man patted the armrest of the mahogany sofa heavily, and against the backdrop of the portrait of the great man behind him, he looked even more solemn. The words were not harsh, but the young man who had just shouted subconsciously shrank his neck. Then I won't marry you either. You can't bully me like this. The young man felt more and more aggrieved as he spoke, and his eyes became red. It's no wonder he felt so helpless. No one could accept this. The Gu family had a son who was kidnapped many years ago. He was found a while ago, but unfortunately the child was unlucky. He died just after being found and passed away within 2 days. Before his death, Gu Hongbin clutched his biological parents' hands and repeatedly warned them that his wife was not welcome at home, was scolded by her parents-in-law all day long, and had a daughter. Now that he was gone, the mother and daughter would have no way to survive, not to mention that his wife was pregnant, and he was really worried. In the end, he even begged his biological parents to let his unmarried younger brother marry his wife. After all, blood is thicker than water, and it can be regarded as a guarantee for his wife and daughter after his death. The Gu couple looked at their eldest son, who had never enjoyed a single day of happiness, but they couldn't bring themselves to say no. Only after the two nodded did Gu Hongbin take his last breath. After all, it was their son's last wish. Although it was a bit difficult to do, the couple still took it to heart. While sending the driver back to the village to pick him up, they discussed at home who would be the unlucky one. The Gu family is wealthy and powerful, and Gu Jinzhen and Tian Shufeng have 4 children in total. The eldest brother, Gu Hongbin, was abducted and sold to the countryside when he was young and died of illness at a young age. The second son, Gu Yuanzhou, is already the youngest counselor in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs at a young age. He just returned from abroad a few years ago to accumulate some experience and is now based in China. The third child, Gu Yuanzhou, just graduated from university. He is a top student and has now been assigned a job. As for the fourth child, Gu Yuanzhou, she is a daughter who has been pampered by everyone since she was a child. She is the apple of the Gu family's eyes. In addition, the Gu family also has an adopted daughter, but she is out of town these 2 days and has not returned yet. The suitable candidate the couple found was the third son, Gu. After all, considering all aspects, he was more suitable. So this conversation took place. Yuanyang, Mom knows this is a bit difficult for you, but this is your eldest brother's last wish after all. I know you are a good child and you will definitely let your eldest brother rest in peace, right? Tian Chufan's eyes were red and her heart ached when she thought of her eldest son who had just passed away. Because of this incident, I fell ill for the past 2 days and only got better today. Gu Yuanyang is a good son who cares about his parents, but this involves his happiness for the rest of his life. He really can't marry a lesbian with whom he has no emotional foundation. Not to mention that this person is his eldest brother's wife, and she is now pregnant with a daughter. If this matter gets out, won't she become a laughingstock among everyone? Why do you have to let me marry? Can't my second brother do that? He's older than me, so he should get married first. Gu Yuanzhou sat upright, and even at home, there was nothing wrong with his demeanor. Only the 2 buttons on his collar were slightly undone, highlighting his casualness at the moment. Hearing his brother say this, he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows slightly. Before he could say anything, Zhu Zhenjia on the side glared at him again. Your second brother is in the rising stage of his career. He needs a partner who can help him in his career. If he is more suitable, why would he turn to you? Your brother is pursuing a career in politics, but you are not. Do you understand? Zhu Junjin has high hopes for his second son. Gu Yuanzhou is also the most promising child in their family in recent years and is quite loved by the old man. After hearing this, Gu Yuanyan felt even more aggrieved. It was the 1980s, not ancient times, and marrying a wife had to be so feudal. The chairman advocated free love among young people, but when it came to him, why did it become an arranged marriage? Dad, how could you do this? This woman grew up in the countryside and probably doesn't know anything. You let my third brother marry such a woman. Isn't this a disgrace to him? Gu Sissy stood up for her brother. Although her eldest brother was very pitiful, they did not grow up together and did not have much feelings for each other. Now that he has passed away, forcing others to do something against their will is not a gentleman's behavior. This matter has nothing to do with you, so stop interfering. Although Mr. Zhu usually dotes on his little daughter, he is also ruthless when it comes to serious matters. Gu Yuanyan opened his mouth to say a few more words when he heard the roar of a car coming from the door. Gu Yongyang pursed his lips, knowing that it was his sister-in-law from the countryside who had returned. Gu Juhandan glared at his youngest son, gave him a warning, then stood up and took his family out to greet them. Shen Mingyu was in a daze. She traveled through time a few months ago. After 30 years of hard work, she finally lived in a big villa. Looking at the 7-digit deposit in her bank card, she couldn't help but drink 2 glasses of red wine at night. After waking up from a sleep, she found herself in the 1980s, when people were short of food and clothing. The original owner had the same name and surname as her, and was a completely pitiful person. Because of her weak character, she was bullied by her in-laws after getting married, and her body always had scars of varying sizes. Later, Gu Yuanzhou fell ill and could not bear to see her suffer in this family, so he forced her to get a divorce certificate. Not long after he passed away, leaving them an orphan and a widow, which was a miserable situation. Shen Mingyu originally wanted to run away, but she still had the original owner's memories, so she couldn't bring herself to do it. Before Gu Hongbin was still alive, her in-laws had bullied her severely. And now that Gu Hongbin was dead, the two of them were naturally even more miserable. She wanted to seek help from her mother's family, but the situation there was even more troublesome. She had a cowardly mother, a violent father, an incompetent brother, and an ungrateful sister. None of them could be relied on. There is no other way. As a temporary measure, we can only follow the path paved by Gu. So when the Gu family sent a car to pick her up, she took her daughter in without hesitation. The car door opened. Shen Mingyu got out of the car, and Nanan followed her timidly. Gu Sissy originally had a look of disdain on her face, thinking that she was just an uneducated rural woman who must be ugly and dark-skinned and was destined not to be presentable. But the moment she saw Shen Mingyu, she was stunned. Chapter 2, He Won't Marry Me. I will. Although Shen Mingyu's clothes were full of patches, she had a beautiful and charming face. Not only her, even Gu Yuanzhou, who was always calm, was stunned for a moment, as if he was thinking about something. This kind of beauty is the kind that stands out in the crowd and cannot be suppressed. Even if you are wearing gray work clothes, Zhu Xuanyang was obviously a little surprised. Who would have thought that this sister-in-law was so beautiful? Mr. and Mrs. G didn't think too much about it and walked over to greet them with a smile. Mingyu, right? You must have had a hard time on this bumpy ride. Come inside. Mother Jiyu greeted her casually and then turned her attention to Nanan, her own granddaughter. Shen Mingyu nodded and spoke slowly in a gentle voice, her Mandarin spoken in a clear and melodious voice. It's not hard. It's the driver who has to come all the way to pick me up. As they were talking, the group went straight into the living room. The Jiyu family was a wealthy family, and they lived in a 2-story building, which was expanded on the original house. Jiyu Jinjin held a high position, and his wife was no ordinary person. In the poor 1980s, such a family could be considered a wealthy family. Shen Mingyu was very satisfied. Although she had no interest in getting married, it was a stepping stone. Once she settled down here, she could divorce and take her daughter away. I just don't know what kind of gay man the Jiyu family arranged for her. After entering the living room, Shen Mingyu took her daughter to sit on the sofa, and the Jiyu family members also took their seats. Tian Shufang was thinking about her granddaughter, so she came in and sat next to the child, teasing her in a low voice. The eldest son had a miserable life. After being abducted by human traffickers, the family treated him well at first. But when they had another son, they found him an eyesore. His first wife ran away a few years after giving birth to their child. Later, he used the money he earned from illegal work to sell everything he had to marry Shen Ming. To put it bluntly, she was a stepmother and whether she was good to her granddaughter was anyone's guess. After a few pleasantries, Gu Yuanzhou got straight to the point. Zhao Shen, you've been wronged in the countryside these years. Now that Hongbin is gone, we're still here. The Gu family is your backer. No one will be able to bully you and your mother in the future, including the child in your belly. We, the Gu family, will be responsible to the end. After saying that, he looked at Gu Yuanzhou beside him and continued, do you know what Hongbin's last wish was after his death? Shen Mingyu nodded, keeping a perfect distance, and she did not show any fear in front of a big shot like Gu. Gu Yuanzhou's evaluation of her in his heart increased a few points. Zhu Hongbin was worthy of being his son, even though he had not been raised by his side since childhood. The wife he found in the countryside was so outstanding. Putting aside other things in terms of courage, she has surpassed many country girls. Since, let's be frank, this is our third child. He has already been assigned a job after graduating from university and is a good match for you in every way. You two should get married and live a good life. He may have a quick temper, but he's a good person. Gu Yuanzhou made the final decision and immediately finalized the marriage. Shen Mingyu still had a calm expression as she looked at Gu Yuanzhou, not far away. Seeing Shen Mingyu looking at him with a look of scrutiny in her dark pupils, Gu Yuanzhou's ears turned red for some reason. Although Shen Mingyu was very different from what he had imagined, a pretty face was not enough to make him change his mind. Despite the immense pressure, Gu Yuanzhou still spoke up. Dad, I haven't agreed to this yet. Shen Mingyu lowered her eyes and silently crossed out the idea in her heart. This young man is not suitable. He is too young and not steady enough. She is willing to marry him only if he can play the role of a father and give the child the fatherly love he deserves. Gu Yuanzhou is obviously not suitable. He is too impetuous. He is still a child. How can he help take care of his daughter? As for the baby in her belly, to be honest, she had no intention of keeping it. After all, it affected her daily life, and she didn't have the energy to take care of it. Shen Mingyu shifted her gaze from Gu Yuanzhou to Gu Yuanzhou, standing beside her. This one looks much more pleasing to the eye than that one. He must be quite old, and his brows exude the charm of a mature man. Gu Yuanzhou was so sensitive that he raised his eyes slightly, and their eyes met in the air. Gu Yuanzhou's pupils suddenly constricted. That's right, it's her, the person he's looking for. Shen Mingyu withdrew her gaze, pondered for a while, and then spoke. Dad, since he doesn't want to, then forget it. Marriage is such a big deal. How can it be forced? Secondly, I also think he's not suitable and not stable enough. This guy looks good. Can we replace him? Shen Mingyu didn't know how to spell the word shy. Anyway, from what he saw at the moment, Gu Yuanzhou was obviously much more reliable than his brother. Even though you are living together, you have to find someone who is pleasing to the eye and has a compatible temper. As soon as these words were spoken, the Gu family fell silent, and all looked at Shen Mingyu in surprise and doubt. What a big tone! Gu Yuanzhou is more than worthy of her. She is just a village girl with no education and no knowledge. If it wasn't for Gu Hongbin's face, would she have the right to be picky? Gu Sisi was the first one who couldn't help herself. Not only did she ruin his third brother, but she also wanted to ruin his second brother. How could a country girl like this be worthy of that? Don't let your wishful thinking get you started. Do you know who my second brother is? He works in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. How could you possibly covet him? Ju Cece has always taken her second brother as a role model and admired him very much. Over the years, there have been many women who have liked her second brother. Even in this feudal era, there are many comrades who are willing to throw themselves at him. But her second brother has never been moved. If he marries this country bumpkin, won't my second brother become a laughingstock among everyone? Shen Minggu frowned slightly. He knew that the Zhu family was not an ordinary family. He didn't expect that there was someone working in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Not everyone can enter that place. Judging from the girl's appearance, this man probably holds a high position in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. She sighed silently in her heart. If it really didn't work out, then forget it. She wouldn't get married. With the Gu family as her shelter, she wouldn't be too bad after all. It was just that the child's growth would be a little bumpy without fatherly love. Her personality would inevitably be flawed when she grew up. Just when she was about to express her thoughts, the noble and elegant man spoke. Yes, sure. Just 3 words made everyone in the hall change their expressions again. Even Gu Yuanzhou, who was always as calm as a rock, became anxious. Yuanzhou you... Gu Yuanzhou stood up, his voice as gentle as jade, and even when he interrupted his elders, he seemed very polite. Dad, I'm already 26 years old, and I'm old enough to get married. My boss is also worried about my personal problems. It would be a good thing if I could get married. Yuanyang is still young, after all, and he's not ready for marriage yet. So I'd be fine if I could do that. He spoke with great force and in a very organized manner. After a few words, Gu Yuanzhou and the others had nothing more to say. Gu Yuanyang was feeling a little unbalanced just now. But now that he heard that his second brother was willing to marry this country bumpkin, his mood became complicated again. He knew how high his second brother's standards were. Now that he agreed to marry her, it was probably for himself. Thinking of this, Ji Yuanyang's eyes became moist. Chapter 3, Is This My Future Husband's Girlfriend? Gu Yuanzhou was dissatisfied, but he couldn't say it in front of Shen Mingyu, so he could only suppress it for the time being. Shen Mingyu didn't expect this man to be so sensible and couldn't help but look at him a few more times. But the more I looked at it, the more familiar it felt, as if the two had met somewhere before. Ji Yuanzhou ignored her, as if Shen Mingyu was not his bride, but just a stranger. Let's go. It's getting late. Mingyu and Xiaowei should be hungry. We have a table reserved at the state-owned restaurant. Let's go eat first. Zhu Jingjin didn't want to discuss this matter anymore. Since no decision had been made, there was still room for maneuver. He would have a meal and then discuss it in detail. Shen Mingyu was indeed hungry. Her stingy parents-in-law wanted to set off firecrackers to celebrate when they saw them leaving. Only when they reached the village entrance did the original owner's mother secretly run over and stuff 2 eggs into her hands. In the car, she and her daughter ate one each. Shen Mingyu stood up and Nanan held her fingers tightly. Just as everyone was about to leave, Gu Cece couldn't bear it anymore and started howling at the top of her lungs. Mom, I don't want to go to a restaurant with them dressed like this. If you don't know them, You might think they are beggars on the street. Tian Shufang turned her head and realized that what the two people were wearing was really too shabby. She had prepared several sets of clothes a while ago, but she forgot about them in her hurry. Mingyu, come in with me first and change your clothes before we go. As he said this, he led Shen Mingyu and the others into the room. Because she had never met him before, the clothes she bought didn't fit her perfectly, but they were barely wearable. Shen Mingyu thanked him from the bottom of her heart. The group left the yard and met many acquaintances in the courtyard. Everyone looked at Shen Mingyu and Nanan with great curiosity. Shufang, this is your eldest daughter-in-law and granddaughter. The recent events of the Jiyu family have caused a lot of uproar, and everyone in the compound has heard about it. Now, when they see people, they can't help but gossip. Tian Shufang nodded in response, exchanged a few words, and then left. Because there were so many people, the Jiyu family car couldn't carry so many people, so they walked over. The state-owned restaurant was not far from the compound, only 5 or 6 minutes walk. When they arrived at the place, Gu Yuanzhou politely asked Shen Mingyu to order the dishes. Shen Mingyu didn't hesitate and ordered 3 of her favorite dishes at random. Ji Sisi was so angry that she stared at Shen Mingyu angrily. Gu Yuanzhou was worried. He looked at Shen Mingyu and then at his second brother. Only Gu Yuanzhou acted as if nothing had happened, as if marrying a country bumpkin with a child was not unfair to him. While eating, Ju Sisi saw someone walking into the hall and her eyes lit up. The person who came was none other than Song Zhu from the compound. Song Zhu worked in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as a translator. Although she had just joined the company, her future was immeasurable. The most important thing is that she has had a crush on Gu Yuanzhou since she was a child and has not married yet. Even Song Zhu, the second brother, doesn't like her. So why does Shen Mingyu look down on him? Ju Sisi didn't care that it was a family gathering and just waved and called Song Zhu over. Sister Song Zhu, come here and eat with us. Song Zhu was alone. When she heard Ju Sisi calling her, she walked over with a smile. After seeing Shen Mingyu, her eyes changed obviously. No, I won't disturb you guys since you have a family gathering. Song Zhu is so smart. How could she not see the current situation? Unexpectedly, Jigu Sisi grabbed her arm, stood up, moved a bench over, and let Song Zhu sit next to Jigu. Why are you so polite? You are not a stranger. Song Zhu sat down next to Gu Yuanzhou, her smile growing wider as she said to Gu Yuanzhou and the others, Uncle Jiyu and Aunt Tian, I'm sorry to bother you. Gu Yuanzhou and the others didn't know what to say after hearing this. Song Zhu picked up the chopsticks and ordered some dishes casually. She was thinking about how to start talking to Gu Yuanzhou when she heard Gu Yuanzhou speak. Dad, don't delay the wedding. It's better to set it within these 2 days. I may have to go out of town next week. Song Zhu was stunned and looked at Jiu Sisi beside her. Sisi, who in your family is getting married? Jiu Sisi drooped her face and whispered, who else could it be? My second brother is crazy. He actually wants to marry this country bumpkin. Song Zhu was shocked, and her voice became higher unconsciously. What? In an instant, everyone's eyes were focused on her. Song Zhu no longer cared about her appearance and simply tugged at Gu Yuanzhou's sleeve. Brother Ju, are you getting married? Gu Yuanzhou dodged silently for a moment, then nodded. Song Zhu's face turned pale. She had waited so many years. It would have been fine if Gu Yuanzhou had married a woman who was better than her, but he had to marry her eldest brother's wife. To put it bluntly, wasn't this indiscreet? How could a younger brother-in-law marry the eldest sister? How can that be possible? You are in a high position now, and your superiors value you very much. You must think twice about marriage. Shen Mingyu raised her eyebrows. It seemed that not only her family didn't take her seriously, but even outsiders didn't take her seriously. Songzu, this is our family matter. Gu Yuanzhou still had a faint smile on his face, and that smile seemed to be welded on his face. He said this in a tactful way, actually reminding Songzu not to cross the line. Songzu's face grew paler, and she obviously realized it. But she was about to say something else when she was interrupted by Ji. Mom, thank you for your trouble in arranging the wedding recently. Gu Yuanzhou always spoke with an air of unquestionable authority, and Tian Shufang subconsciously nodded in agreement. When he reacted, there was a look of surprise on his face. Songzu looked at Gu Yuanzhou, tears gradually filling her eyes. She obviously couldn't eat this meal anymore. She found an excuse and ran away with red eyes. Shen Mingyu frowned repeatedly as she watched. It seemed that this future husband was no pushover. He could meet admirers even when he went out for a meal. Who knew how many romantic opportunities there were among him? If that's the case, then the marriage might as well not take place. If Comrade Jiu insists, we can still not get married. I can still live with... Shen Mingyu relaxed. She was not so stubborn as to insist on marrying into the Jeju family. Gu Yuanzhou ignored her and asked, Comrade Shen, I want to ask, how long have you been pregnant? Shen Mingyu was stunned and felt a little puzzled, but still answered politely, 3 months. Gu Yuanzhou's black eyes trembled, and he thought about it in his heart, becoming more certain of his guess. No need to force it. As a younger brother, I shall let my elder brother rest assured. After we get married, I will be responsible for you and the child. Shen Mingyu nodded when she heard this and said nothing more. After dinner, Shen Mingyu returned home with her daughter back to the room arranged by Tian. There was a big bed and a bookshelf inside. There were many comic books for children on the bookshelf, which was obviously carefully arranged. At this time, Gu Yuanzhou was called into the room by his parents. Yuanzhou, you're being ridiculous. I know you want to help your family, but you shouldn't joke about your own future. Tian Shufeng, standing by, also frowned. Son, why do you insist on marrying your eldest? Chapter 4, The Child is Mine, facing his parents' accusations. Gu Yuanzhou revealed a shocking piece of news because the baby in her belly is mine. When these words were spoken, both the husband and wife were shocked. That's nonsense. Your sister-in-law just came today, and this is the first time we've all met. How could the baby in her belly be yours? If anyone else heard this, it would be disgraceful. Gu Yuanzhou was not in a hurry to explain. Seeing that his father's emotions had stabilized, he slowly began to explain. 3 months ago, Gu Yuanzhou investigated this matter and did not expect such a misunderstanding. Both the couple knew that he was already a counselor at such a young age. After returning from his overseas posting, he was highly appreciated by his superiors, and there were countless people keeping an eye on him. It is not impossible to frame him while he is out of town on business. Fortunately, the girl was smart and found a chance to escape. Otherwise, if the two were caught red-handed, Gu Yuanzhou would definitely be punished in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Fortunately, Gu Yuanzhou had just asked Shen Minyu and learned that Shen Minyu had divorced Zhu Hongbin a few months ago. After all, Zhu Hongbin was kind-hearted and couldn't bear to drag her down. Shen Minggu was already single at that time. Zhu Jianzhen and Tian Shufeng fell silent at the same time. Who could have thought that things would be so dramatic? No wonder the second son, who had always been cold-hearted, suddenly wanted to marry Shen Mingyu. It turned out that there was such a story behind it. This makes sense. Since Shen Mingyu is pregnant with Gu Yuanzhou's child, it makes sense for them to get married. Although the couple hopes that their son can find someone to help him in his marriage, the current situation forces them to change their original idea. Zhu Jinzhen was also thinking in his heart at this moment. Grandpa Zhu is about to celebrate his 80th birthday, and his body is not as strong as before. Although he has great-grandchildren now. The first and second wives have all given birth to baby girls, and that was the case for the third child. Zhu Hongbin is no exception. Xiaowei is also a daughter. The whole family was quite anxious about this. Although the old man didn't say it, his generation was somewhat patriarchal, and he also wanted to hold his great-grandson and become a great-grandfather before he closed his eyes. So someone secretly found a fortune teller who said that the Jiu family had great fortune, but it had been used up by the grandchildren, and it would be difficult to have a male heir in the future. So now the granddaughters-in-law of the Jiu family are trying their best to give birth to a son, so that they will definitely get the favor of Mr. Jiu. It would be great if Shen Mingyu was pregnant with a boy. Zhu Jinzhen thought so, and Tian Shufeng beside him was no exception. The son is the most promising child of the Sun generation in the Jiu family. He has a strong destiny. Maybe Shen Mingyu is really pregnant with a baby boy. In that case, your mother and I have nothing to say. We'll start planning the wedding and get it done soon. I'll find someone with connections to help take a look. If Minggu is pregnant with a boy, your grandfather will be very happy when he finds out. Jiu Jinzhen compromised, but did not forget to give a suggestion. Gu Yuanzhou frowned slightly, somewhat disagreeing, but didn't say anything. After finishing the discussion, I walked out of the living room and saw Gu Yuanyang and Gu Sisi waiting there. When Gu Yuanyang saw his second brother coming out, he quickly stood up. Brother, I've thought about it carefully. If this incident hinders your future, then let me marry you. He clenched his fists, obviously feeling that what he did was a huge sacrifice. Gu Yuanzhou looked at his brother and patted his shoulder. Don't think too much. It's settled. From now on, she's your second. I don't expect you to like her, but you have to show her the most basic respect. Do you understand? When Gu Sisi heard what her second brother said, she looked indignant. Second brother, you'll regret this. Isn't Sister Songzhu better than her? You're just throwing a flower into cow dung. What right does Shen Mingyu have? She's just using the death of our eldest brother to morally blackmail everyone. If it were me, I'd just kick her out and leave the child behind. Gu Sisi spoke loudly, so Shen Mingyu in the room naturally heard it. Nanan was not used to the new environment and kept sticking to Shen Mingyu, but she was 5 years old this year and could understand what she said. She knew her mother was disliked, but why? Her mother was such a good person. Why did no one like her? The smile on Gu Yuanzhou's face disappeared. His eyes suddenly became sharp. He stared at Gu Sissy for a few seconds before speaking coldly. Have your family spoiled you too much over the years? Don't let me hear these words a second time. Gu Sissy's face turned pale, and she felt even more aggrieved. Who was she saying this for? Her second brother didn't appreciate it. After Gu Yuanzhou finished speaking, he walked directly to Shen Minggu's door. Just as he raised his hand to knock on the door, he suddenly thought of something. He reached out and fastened the 2 buttons on his chest before knocking. Shen Mingyu heard the noise, got up and opened the door, and was not surprised to see the straight-limbed man outside. She also heard what Gu Yuanzhou said just now, and she felt a little more favorable towards him. Apart from anything else, this man was quite particular about his work and seemed to be passable on the surface. Can we talk? Shen Minggu nodded and moved aside. The man walked straight into the room and sat on the sofa in the corner. Shen Minggu sat down beside the bed, facing him. You should prepare for the next 2 days. Let's get the certificate first. I have nothing to do this afternoon, so I'll take you out to buy some things. You can make a list later to see what's missing. The man went straight to the point and added, I'm currently working at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I'm usually very busy with official duties, so I might not be able to take care of you and the children. But don't worry, my family will take care of you when I'm busy. You can always contact me if you have any questions. Shen Mingyu was extremely satisfied. Apart from anything else, this man was fine in being a fake couple. She also knew that this was a bit selfish of her. After all, the child in her belly was not Ji. Marrying Gu Yuanzhou would mean making him but as a human being who is not selfish, she can only take care of herself and her child first. Okay, I understand. Comrade Jiu, do you have a girl you're interested in right now? I've just thought about it. If you have a partner, my proposal is indeed too abrupt, and there's no need for you to accommodate me for your brother. Although Shen Mingyu is not a good person, she also has a bottom line and must not be a third party. Gu Yuanzhou shook his head. Don't worry. No, there's no need to worry about that. You take the child to sleep first. When she wakes up, I'll take you out shopping. We can also stop by the old man's place in the evening. He also wants to see his daughter. Shen Minggu nodded in agreement. The conversation between the two did not sound like that of a newlywed couple, but more like that of partners. After Gu Yuanzhou left, Nanan blinked her big eyes. Mom, he's going to be dad from now on, right? Shen Mingyu nodded. Yes. What do you think of this, father? Nanan was still a little sad when she thought of Jiu Hongbin, but she nodded and said, if mom thinks it's good, then I think it's good too. After the two finished talking, they were about to lie down to sleep when they heard another knock on the door. When they opened it, they found that it was Gu Yuanyang standing outside. When Gu Yuanyang saw Shen Mingyu, his ears couldn't help but blush. This woman is so beautiful. Gu Yuanyang has never had much contact with lesbians, so he naturally feels a little embarrassed to meet her alone. Sister-in-law, I have something to tell you. Can I come in? Shen Mingyu didn't have a good impression of her brother-in-law. Although the original owner was born into an ordinary family and was just a rural girl, the disparagement in his words was really unbearable to listen to. If you have anything to say, just say it here. The child and I are going to bed. Gu Yuanyang felt even more embarrassed. He glanced around and didn't see anyone coming out. Then he whispered, I was wrong to say that just now. I've seriously reflected on it. I'm indeed more suitable for marriage. How about Gu Yuanzhou felt that he had made a sacrifice for his second brother, but was interrupted by Shen Mingyu before he could finish his words. While he was picking out others, Shen Mingyu still had to choose. To be honest, she didn't like this brother. No need. Your second brother and I have a better eye for each other. Nothing else. We need to rest. Without waiting for Gu Yuanzhou to react, Shen Mingyu closed the door. Gu Yuanzhou was stunned when he saw the door right at his nose. If he heard correctly, this woman was disgusted with him in her words and deeds. To put it bluntly, she didn't like him. When he realized this, he felt terrible. It was such a joke. He, Gu Yuanzhou, was a top student in the 1980s. He had a good family background and education. Why would a widowed rural woman with a child look down on him? The expression on his face was unclear, and Gu Yuanzhou was almost mad with anger. Shen Mingyu didn't care about that and coaxed her daughter to sleep. When she woke up, Gu Yuanzhou was already waiting outside. Can we leave now? Shen Mingyu nodded, glanced at the energetic Gu Yuanzhou, and couldn't help but feel dissatisfied in her heart. Are all officials like this? They seem to never get tired. Nanan didn't get enough rest and was still a little sleepy. In addition, Tian Shufang also wanted to develop a relationship with her granddaughter. So Shen Mingyu left the child at home. He got into Gu Yuanzhou's car and headed towards the department store. Because of Gu Yuanzhou's current position, the company has assigned him a car and he usually has a driver. But since it is not working hours now, Gu Yuanzhou drives himself. Although the two were sitting in the car, they were still seen by people in the compound when they left. Those who knew Gu Yuanzhou couldn't help but whisper, "What's going on? Why is there a lesbian sitting next to Gu Yuanzhou? She looks pretty." Song Zhu, who was standing by, was even more heartbroken. Why did this country bumpkin get to sit in Gu Yuanzhou's passenger seat? Who the hell was she? Thinking that the man she had secretly loved for so many years ended up marrying such a bastard, Song Zhu felt like killing someone. Not long after the two of them left, the whole compound was in an uproar because Tian Shufang had asked someone to choose an auspicious date. Here, people also pay attention to finding an auspicious day for getting married. Everyone was gossiping when they heard the news. After asking, they found out that Gu Yuanzhou was getting married, and the person he was marrying was actually his sister. Song Zhu had hoped that Gu's father and mother could stop her, but she didn't expect them to compromise. Her eyes went dark and she fell to the ground. At this time, Shen Mingyu was shopping. Gu Yuanzhou was very generous and would buy anything she liked. However, Shen Mingyu was not so tactless. She bought things necessary for the wedding and even bought a small school bag for her daughter when she passed by a stationery store. After spending the afternoon together, Shen Mingyu became more and more satisfied with her nominal husband. They were planning to go shopping again when Gu Yuanzhou's pager rang. He took a look, his brows instantly furrowed, and he pulled Shen Mingyu's sleeve and walked out. Something happened to the old man. Let's go to the hospital quickly. Shen Mingyu's heart also skipped a beat. She had heard before coming that Mr. Gu was not an ordinary person. He was the key protected person of the whole family and the former commander. Everyone in the Gu family respected and was filial to him, but as he grew older, his health was inevitably not good. Shen Mingyu didn't dare to delay and hurriedly followed Gu Yuanzhou to the hospital. When we arrived at the hospital and entered the ward, it was already crowded with people. Mr. Zhu had an oxygen tube inserted into his nose, and his eyes were a little cloudy. The whole family had serious expressions, and many of them had tears in their eyes. Gu Yuanzhou frowned even deeper. The situation looked very bad. When Mr. Jiu saw Shen Mingyu, his old voice sounded, "Is this Hong Bin's wife?" Shen Mingyu hurriedly took a few steps forward. "Grandpa, it's me." As they were talking, Tian Shufeng and her family came over with their daughter. Zhu Jianzhen took the child to the bedside. "Dad, this is Hong Bin's daughter, and also your great-granddaughter." When the old man saw Nanan, his eyes couldn't help but light up, but soon dimmed again. He wanted to reach out and touch Nanan's hand, but he didn't have the strength. Nanan was a smart child. Seeing this, she quickly held the old man's hand and sweetly called him Grandpa. A smile instantly appeared on Mr. Gu's face. At this moment, the instrument next to him suddenly made a sound, and Mr. Gu's condition worsened. The medical staff on the side rushed to give him first aid. The whole family had no choice but to go out and wait. Oh, Mrs. Gu was crying uncontrollably. She had given birth to 5 children in her early years, 3 sons and 2 daughters. Now the whole family gathered in the hospital corridor, and it was instantly crowded 2 meters away. "I'm afraid the old man won't make it this time. If he dies, I don't want to live anymore." The old lady looked very sad, and Shen Mingyu couldn't help but sigh about the love of the older generation in this era. Jidu Jianjun glanced at the people in the corridor and suddenly thought of something. "Mom Mingyu is now 3 months pregnant, but we don't know if it's a boy or a girl. I'm going to ask Yuanzhou to take her for a checkup. If it's a boy, Dad will definitely be very happy when he finds out, and maybe her health will get better." Everyone knows the old man's worry, which is that he wants to see his great-grandson, but his grandson's wife has given birth to daughters over the years. If the baby in Shen Mingyu's belly was a son, the old man might be able to survive. When everyone in the Zhu family heard what Zhu Jinjin said, they all had different expressions. Only the old lady's eyes lit up with hope. "Really? That's great. Go take Mingyu for a checkup. If your dad knew he had a great-grandson, he would definitely get over it." Shen Mingyu was stunned and was taken to the hospital for examination by Gu Yuanzhou without knowing what was going on. It stands to reason that the gender of the baby cannot be determined after more than 3 months, but the Jiu family is not an ordinary family. With just a little effort, there are naturally many ways to find a solution. Shen Mingyu had her blood drawn, and she and Gu Yuanzhou waited silently for the results. Gu Yuanzhou also felt that this was inappropriate, as if Shen Mingyu was a tool, and immediately comforted her in a deep voice. "I'm sorry. For the sake of the old man's health, please bear with me." Chapter 6 instantly became popular. Shen Mingyu was obviously a little surprised. She didn't expect that they were twins. Although she felt complicated, she didn't dare to say anything at this critical moment. After a while, the medical staff came out with the examination report. Gu Yuanzhou stood up and spoke anxiously. "Doctor, is it a boy or a girl?" The doctor adjusted his glasses on the bridge of his nose and said, "It's a boy, and more than one. They're twins." After hearing this, not only was the usually calm Gu Yuanzhou moved, but even Shen Mingyi beside him was dumbfounded. It would be fine if she was pregnant with just one baby, but she's having twins. This is really killing me. Do I have any chance of living? Thinking of this, Shen Minggu couldn't help but feel angry. Gu Yuanzhou took the examination report, thanked the doctor, and looked at Shen Mingyu with a strange look in his eyes. Who could have thought that he would become a father so soon and that the child would come at the right time? These two children are his sons. Gu Yuanzhou, who has never been interested in love, now feels an uncontrollable excitement in his heart. Let's go back and tell the old man the news. Shen Minggu didn't have time to think about anything else at this moment and followed Gu Yuanzhou back to the door of the emergency room. When the old lady saw her grandson coming back, she quickly asked, Yuanzhou, how's it going? Did you find out? Is it a boy or a girl? Ji Yuanzhou nodded heavily. We found out they are twins, both boys. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone had different expressions. Zhu Zhenjin and Tian Shufang were naturally delighted, but the other family's expressions changed. This Isor, who came back from the countryside, was actually pregnant with 2 baby boys. If it were in the countryside, sons would naturally not be so valuable, but in the current Jiyu family, they are gold nuggets. For a time, Shen Mingyu became the target of public criticism, but the old lady didn't care about that and quickly told the emergency doctor the news. The doctor thought it was a bit ridiculous. The patient's condition was already there. How could he be brought back to life with just a few words? But he also knew that the Jiyu family was not an ordinary family, so he had to do as he was told. After the doctor told the dying Mr. Jiyu the news, a miraculous thing happened. The data on the instrument changed instantly, and all the values were almost close to normal. The doctor couldn't believe it, but he was ecstatic in his heart and took another set of emergency rescue measures. 10 minutes later, Mr. Jiu successfully woke up. The first thing he said after waking up was to ask his lovely great. At this moment, the old lady and the others had already entered the ward. Seeing that the old man was out of danger, they burst into tears. Old man, I wasn't lying to you. You really do have great-grandchildren, 2 of them. Your granddaughter-in-law is pregnant with twins. I've already asked someone to check, and there are 2 boys. Although Mr. Ju was weak, he couldn't help laughing and said hello 3 times in a row. Okay. It seems that God has eyes and still wants me, an old man like me, to hold my precious great-grandson in my arms. I can't die. After seeing this, Gu Zhenjian and the others couldn't help but feel relieved. Although the Jiyu family is doing well now, they absolutely cannot do without the old man as a backer. With him, the Jiyu family has confidence. Now that the old man has come back to life, it is definitely a great joy. Dad, please, don't say that. You will live to be 100 years old. Not to mention 2 great-grandchildren. You will have 7 or 8 in a short time. Sion just got pregnant recently and has had symptoms in the past 2 days. The person who spoke was Jiu Jiandang from the second house, who obviously didn't want the first house to steal all the limelight. The old man nodded. Then I'll borrow your good word. The old man is out of danger, so it's not appropriate for us to gather here together. After all, he needs to rest. After chatting for a while, they all went out. Without the old man and the old lady around, everyone's conversations sounded a bit harsh, especially the second house. Zhu Jiandang glanced at Shen Minggu with a bit of contempt in his eyes. I never thought, big brother, that this daughter-in-law we suddenly brought back would be pregnant with our first great-grandson. What a coincidence. Congratulations. This may seem like congratulations, but it is actually a question. How could it be such a coincidence? Is it certain that the child in Shen Mingyu's belly is from the Gu family? Gu Jianjin remained calm and chuckled twice. Zhao Shen is our family's lucky star. We are so lucky this time. By the way, since everyone is here today, I won't notify everyone one by one. Yuanzhou is getting married in 2 days. If you are not busy during these 2 days, please come and help. After hearing what Zhu Junzhan said, everyone was dumbfounded. Yuanzhou is getting married. Which girl is he marrying? When this question was asked, everyone thought that Gu Yuanzhou was going to marry into some great and powerful family. After all, with Gu Yuanzhou's ability, he would be a good match for any girl. Zhu Junjin nodded. Yes, he is old. It would be good for him to get married early. And marry Ming. This was the eldest brother's last wish before he died. This way, they can become closer relatives. He knew it was a lame excuse, but it was already decided, and that was all he could say. When everyone heard this, they were all in disbelief. The defunct family is quite smart and is highly regarded by the old man and his family. Unexpectedly, they made such a stupid mistake on this crucial matter. Shen Minggu is now pregnant with 2 boys and has already established her status as the eldest wife. Under this circumstance, asking Gu Yuanzhou to marry this eldest sister-in-law is like taking off pants to fart and a waste of procedures. There are obviously better options. But will everyone say that? Of course not. The eldest wife is stupid. That is, to give them an opportunity. If Gu Yuanzhou marries a woman like this, it is destined that his other half will not be able to provide him with support. In this case, future career may not be smooth. Zhu Jiandang laughed and led the congratulations. That's great. It's a perfect match. When Mingyu gives birth to a child, Yuanzhou will take care of it, and we can rest assured we will definitely go over to help in the next 2 days and send out wedding invitations. The second wife obviously wanted to see a joke. Zhu Jianjian knew it very well, but he couldn't get angry. After all, Shen Mingyu's identity was really embarrassing. If she wasn't pregnant now, she would never be the one to become her son's other half. We planned to do it on a small scale without making such a big fuss. Several people laughed in their hearts. It was really a joke that the most promising young man of the Gu family actually married a country bumpkin. No wonder they were unwilling to make a big deal about it. After all, no one would like to have such a shameful thing happen. Everyone pretended to flatter him for a few more words before going home. In this way, Shen Minggu became a favorite of the Gu family. He was kind to her before because of Gu Hongbin's consideration, and he was extra polite to her now purely because of her pregnancy. Tian Shufeng felt happy when she thought about her daughter-in-law giving birth to her first great-grandson. After competing with her sister-in-law for so many years, she finally won. Chapter 7. When did Gu Yuanzhou become so gentle? After returning home from the hospital, Jiu Jianjin and Tian Shufan looked at Shen Minggu with a little more loving eyes. She even asked Gu Yuanzhou to help her get into the car. Mingyu, you are the lucky star of our Gu family. If it weren't for this good news today, I'm afraid the old man wouldn't have been able to hold on. I can see that you are a blessed child. Just stay at home and raise the child peacefully. Once you give birth to the child, you will be the great hero. Tian Shufan looked at Shen Mingyu and spoke softly. But these words were still somewhat contemptuous. It wasn't that Tian Shufang looked down on Shen Mingyu, but that was simply the situation. A rural woman who had not received much education had no other advantages except her face. Even if her family wanted to find her a job, she couldn't do it. After all, if you want to have a stable job now, you need a diploma. They couldn't let Shen Mingyu go to such a particularly bad position. After all, she was their daughter, and if people knew about it, wouldn't it be embarrassing? So Gu Yuanzhou and Tian Shufang have the same idea. If they have no skills but are pregnant, then they can just be a good vase at home. Even if they can't do anything else, they can help with cooking, cleaning the house, and taking care of the children. Their value is not low. Shen Mingyu was not stupid, so she naturally understood the deeper meaning behind it, but she did not really care about it. This is human nature. It is already very good that Zhu Jinzhen and Tian Shufang can do this. There are not so many goodies in the world, and she has no right to ask others to do so. But she couldn't stay at home to do the laundry, cook, and take care of the baby. She couldn't sit still, and staying at home all day would be like killing her. But now that I have just arrived, it is not appropriate for me to contradict you. I will think about it later. After returning home, Juicy also learned that Shen Mingyu was pregnant with twins, and she couldn't help but mock her. Some people shouldn't take themselves too seriously. Giving birth isn't a big deal. The chairman has said that women hold up half the sky. If you don't have the ability and rely on others, you'll be a daughter in your lifetime. When Tian Shufang heard her daughter say this, she couldn't help but glare at her. Jiu Sissy pursed her lips, rolled her eyes at Shen Mingyu, and left. Shen Mingyu pretended not to hear and went to talk to Nan. Nanan was a little scared at first, but after spending a few hours with her grandmother, she was no longer so timid. Tian Shufang and the others treated her very well. After all, she was their own granddaughter. How could they not love her? While having dinner in the evening, Gu Yuanzhou's eyes would occasionally sweep over Shen Mingyu, and he always felt that this woman was unusual. Although she grew up in the countryside, she was not timid at all when she came to the city. Instead, she looked calm, as if she didn't care no matter what happened. At the dinner table, Tian Shufang and the others kept adding more dishes to Shen Mingyu's meal and told her to eat more. Jiu Sisi felt very uncomfortable when she saw this scene. "Mom, why are you so partial? You only give her some and not me." Before Tian Shufang could speak, Gu Yuanzhou frowned. "Jiu Sisi, if you can't eat properly, go back to the house." Gu Yuanzhou usually doesn't get angry and rarely scolds his younger siblings. But once he gets angry, not only Zhu Sisi and but even Tian Shufan and the others would tremble in their hearts. Zhu Sisi felt aggrieved after being scolded by her second brother, but she didn't dare to say anything. She ate rice while crying. Shen Mingyu was still chewing slowly, as if this matter was not caused by her, and she didn't even glance at her. Gu Yuanzhou picked up a piece of vegetables with chopsticks and slowly placed it into Shen Mingyu's bowl. "Eat more vegetables." Tian Shufang and the others picked up meat dishes for Shen Mingyu, subconsciously wanting her to get more nutrition and not letting their precious grandson down. "But I can't stand eating only meat. It's too greasy." Gu Yuanzhou was a thoughtful person and obviously noticed this. Although it was just a small action, It was undoubtedly a bombshell in the eyes of the whole family. Gu Yuanzhou has never picked up food for his parents, but now he is picking up food for this young widow and speaking so gently. It's really like the sun is rising from the west. Jizu Sissy didn't even bother eating, staring blankly at the scene. Jizu Yuanyang, standing by, was also lost in thought. Wasn't he willing to marry this young widow out of a sense of responsibility? Why did his second brother act so naturally, as if he really cared about this woman? They didn't know what was going on, but Tian Shufeng and Gu Yuanzhou knew it. Shen Mingyu is pregnant with Gu Yuanzhou's child. As a father, how can he not care? However, they didn't plan to tell anyone about this matter. After all, Gu Sissy and the others were not careful with their words, and it would not sound good if it got out. When Shen Mingyu had sex with Gu Yuanzhou, her eldest son was still alive. Isn't this a mess? Shen Mingyu whispered, "Thank you," and only started eating after seeing that Nanan was full. The little girl ate a lot of meat. After all, life in the countryside was hard and the family didn't have much money. They usually ate cabbage and potatoes and couldn't even have rice. With such delicious food on the table, how could a child resist? Nanan ate 2 large bowls before burping contentedly. Tian Shufeng, who was standing beside her, couldn't help but praise her. "Little girl, you're amazing. You ate so much by yourself. Are you still hungry? Grandma will peel another apple for you." Little Nanan shook her head, then nodded. Although she was already very full, the apple was fragrant and sweet, and she still wanted to eat it. She looked up at Shen Mingyu, who nodded at her. Nanan got down from the chair and ran to Tian Shufeng. "Grandma, eat an apple." Tian Shufeng felt so soft-hearted that she held the little thing directly on her lap. Okay. Grandma will peel an apple for you right away." Tian Shufeng took an apple, peeled it, and handed it to her granddaughter. Nanan looked at her, suddenly raised her head, kissed her on the face, and then started eating the apple with her little face flushed. This cute gesture made Zhu Zhenzhen, who was standing by, feel jitu. Children should not be partial. If you kiss your grandma, you must kiss your grandpa. As he said this, he moved his face closer. Nanan also gave him a kiss on the face, which made the old couple smile happily. Shen Mingyu was originally worried that she would be able to get along well in the Jiu family and would be able to adapt to the environment. But she didn't expect that she was worrying too much. She immediately took to the Jiu family like a duck in water. Seeing that the Jiu family loved children very much, she also breathed a sigh of relief. After dinner, Tian Shufeng went to clear the dishes and planned to wash them. Although the Gu family is well off, they work in a public institution after all. Now that the sensitive period has just passed, they are reluctant to hire a nanny for fear of being talked about. So all the housework is done by family members. And as for cooking, Tian Shufeng naturally does most of it. Shen Mingyu was a little hesitant, considering whether to help. She didn't want to rush to help with the work, but after all, she had to eat and drink. And even if she was not at Gu's house, she still had to cook and wash dishes at home. Chapter 8, there's trouble again. On the eve of the wedding, thinking this in my mind, I reached out to pick up the plate. Seeing this, Gu Yuanzhou reached out to stop him. "I can do it. You can take Nanan to bed early. You must have been tired from running all the way." Jiu Sissy was originally waiting for Shen Mingyu to work, but was stopped by her second brother again. She was so angry that she almost fainted. She is a rural woman who knows nothing and cannot go to work to earn money. She also doesn't wash dishes or cook at home. Why, brother? How can mom wash so many dishes by herself? If sister-in-law is willing to go, just let her go. She originally didn't want to call her sister-in-law, but she was afraid of being scolded, so she changed her tone. Gu Yuanzhou didn't even look at her, but bent down to clean the dishes. Why don't you help? Gu Sasi was choked. She was the little princess of their family. How could she know how to wash dishes? I don't know how to brush. If you don't know, go learn. Today, Gu Yuanzhou did not give his sister any face, and his attitude was very tough. Gu Sisi was repeatedly rejected and did not dare to show off anymore. She stomped her feet and ran back to the house. Gu Yuanyang was watching from the side, and he couldn't stand idle. Since his second brother was helping, he had to be considerate too. When Shen Mingyu returned to the house, she couldn't help but look at Gu Yuanzhou again. It must be said that this man was quite responsible. He had been protecting her since the moment he decided to marry her. Although she didn't have much hope for this marriage, even if they were just living together, they had to be able to survive. If Gu Yuanzhou was a hands-off boss, it would be a headache. It seems that I have good tastes, and the person I like is quite reliable. After they finished washing up, Nanan was already sleepy and fell asleep in a short while. Shen Mingyu was already numbed out and decided to just go for it. As for the future, she would take it one step at a time and not think about it anymore. Not long after the child fell asleep, she also fell asleep. That night, she did not sleep very well. She kept having the same dream. In the dream, she was in a guest house and was pinned down by a man. She could not see the man's face clearly. Suddenly, the lights came on. She slowly opened her eyes and found that she actually knew this man. It was none other than Ji. Shen Mingyu cried out softly and woke up from her dream. She touched her body and found it was covered in cold sweat. She didn't know why she had such a dream. She steadied her breathing and fell asleep again. But not long after I fell asleep, I had the same dream again, 2 or 3 times a night. She didn't get a good rest at all, and woke up the next day with dark circles under her eyes. When I went out, Tian Shufeng had already prepared the meal, including millet porridge, fried dough sticks, and a small bowl of eggs. Hurry up and eat. After dinner, we need to get busy. We need to simply decorate the house and go out to buy the missing things today. The event has to be done in 2 days, so time is quite tight, and the Gu family doesn't want to make Shen Mingyu suffer too much. After all, they are a wealthy family, and it would be inappropriate to be too shabby. Besides, Shen Mingyu is pregnant with 2 children, so they still have to be given the proper ceremony. Gu Yuanzhou has already reported to his leader that he will not be going to the company for the next 2 days. His leader also expressed his understanding. Anyway, he is very busy all year round, so he still has to be given wedding leave. As for his marriage partner, Gu Yuanzhou didn't want others to know. After all, it was his private life, and there was no need to talk about it. After dinner, many people came to the Gu family, all of whom came to help. Some were pasting wedding characters, some were hanging lanterns, and they were very busy. Song Zhu also heard about it and ran to the door to take a peek. Seeing the Gu family so busy, she couldn't help but tear up. She took the opportunity to catch up with Gu Yuanzhou when he went out. Shen Mingyu saw this scene upstairs and her eyes narrowed. It seems that this girl has not given up yet. Well, Gu Yuanzhou is so outstanding that there must be many female comrades who are devoted to him. To put it bluntly, he is a man who attracts bees and butterflies. Even if he gets married in the future, he probably won't be able to live peacefully. This is because there is no emotional basis. Otherwise, I would be satisfied just by being jealous. Gu Yuanzhou looked at Songzhu, who was crying with tears in her eyes, with a serious expression. What are you doing? Be aware of your identity. Although the two grew up in the same compound and were childhood sweethearts, Gu Yuanzhou had always been a very sensible person and was always very careful no matter who he spoke to. Hearing Gu Yuanzhou say this, Songzhu became even sadder. Brother Gu, are you crazy? You're actually going to marry a countrywoman. If that were all, it would be fine. But she's your eldest sister-in-law, your eldest brother's wife, and she has a child. Who are you? You've been the best student in our compound since you were a child. You are the best student in school, and you're the most promising one in your career. I've liked you for so many years. If you had found someone with better conditions than me, I wouldn't have felt so bad. But why did you have to choose a lesbian like this? Don't be so confused anymore. It's not too late to cancel the wedding now. Otherwise, you'll become a laughingstock. Songzhu looked anxious, and it was obvious that she was genuinely concerned about Gu. But this was completely her wishful thinking. Gu Yuanzhou knew that if he didn't explain clearly, Songzhu might not understand, so he sighed and spoke. I've made up my mind. You know me well. Once I've made a decision, I won't change it easily. As for what others think, that has nothing to do with me. I don't need a female comrade to help me with my future. Only incompetent people would have such an idea. No one forced me to marry her. It was all my own wish. Have I made myself clear? Do you understand? Don't repeat what I said today a second time. Songzhu, you've overstepped your bounds. Gu Yuanzhou's words were very formulaic, and Songzhu simply couldn't accept it. She couldn't understand why Gu Yuanzhou, who was so outstanding, would be willing to marry a country bump. Brother Gu, please don't be like this. Marriage is a big deal. Even if you don't want to be with me, there are better options. I don't want to see you spend your whole life with a woman like this. Gu Yuanzhou answered her with a cold look. He no longer paid attention to Songzhu and went straight back to the yard. Shen Minggu happened to see the whole scene. It seemed that the woman did not succeed. Gu Yuanzhou was a very upright person. Although she didn't know why he was willing to marry her, she could feel that he was a very upright person. Since he decided to marry her, he would not get entangled with others. At this time, Ju Sissy saw everyone busying around and felt even more depressed. She ran out and called Zhou Xiaofei in the phone room. Zhou Xiaofei was busy out of town. When she received GUCC's call, she frowned but still picked up the phone. What's wrong with Sissy? Is there something you want to talk to me about? Sister Xiaofei, please come back soon. My second brother is getting married, and he's marrying a country bumpkin. I'm so pissed off. Not only did my second brother agree, but my parents also agreed. When Zhou Xiaofei heard this, she almost dropped the microphone in her hand. She had only been out for a few days, and Gu Yuanzhou was getting married. She had never heard that he had a partner. Why was it so sudden? How was that possible? Brother Yuanzhou is getting married. Who is he marrying? Who is this country bumpkin you're talking about? Chapter 9. The difficult adopted daughter of the Gu family is back. Who else could it be? The wife my eldest brother later married. You know about my eldest brother, right? After my parents found him, his last wish was for my brother to marry his wife. How ridiculous is that? No one in their right mind would take it seriously. But somehow, no one knows what's going on. They all agreed to it. What else? Even more outrageous is that they've already sent out invitations and prepared everything for the wedding day. The wedding is going to be held the day after tomorrow. Sister Xiaofei, I really can't stand it. Who is my second brother? He actually wants to marry a woman like this. Gu Yuanzhou said this with an indignant look on her face, as if she had found a soulmate, and kept pouring out her grievances. Zhou Xiaofei's face turned pale at this moment. Who was Gu Yu? He was the favorite of all the comrades in the compound. It was hard for anyone to accept that such a handsome man had finally become a victim of feudal superstition. So everyone in the family agrees, right? Grandpa agrees to. Zhou Xiaofei's voice couldn't help but tremble, but he still had the last hope in his heart. You don't know, that woman was pregnant with twins, both boys. When Grandpa found out they were going to have great-grandchildren, he was so nice to her that he didn't object at all. Hearing Zhu Cixi complaining, Zhou Xiaofei's heart sank. He comforted Zhu Cixi in a distracted manner, and then hung up the phone. If they were getting married the day after tomorrow, her family should have informed her, but if Gu Yuanzhou hadn't called, she wouldn't have known that Gu Yuanzhou was getting married. As expected, adopted children are adopted and are not the biological children of the Gu family after all. Zhou Xiaofei laughed at himself and sat on the chair for a long time, but soon Gu's father called, "Zhao Fai, your second brother is getting married. Dad knows you can't come back these 2 days. So it depends on your situation. If you can take leave, then come back to attend the wedding. If it's not convenient, that's fine too." Zhou Xiaofei answered almost without hesitation when he received a call from Gu's father. "My second brother is getting married, so how can I not go back? I'll ask for leave from my supervisor and should be home this afternoon. I can help out then." There was a hint of appreciation in Gu's father's tone. "That's fine. You're always the most sensible kid. We'll wait for you then." After saying that, he hung up the phone. Zhou Xiaofei couldn't stay even a minute longer, so she asked for leave from the accompanying leader. She was a teacher, and this time she came out of town to attend a meeting with the Dean of Studies. She wasn't an important role anyway, so it didn't matter if she asked for leave. When the leader heard that it was her second brother who was getting married, he did not stop him. "After all, it is a serious matter, so we must be flexible when necessary." After getting his leave approved, Zhou Xiaofei could hardly wait to board the return train. Shen Minggu didn't know that Gu Yuanzhou had gone to tell Tailies, so she was helping everyone decorate the room. After all, it's a wedding, so there should be a wedding character on the head of the bed, and the bedding should be changed to bright red. The couple's wedding room was originally booked for Gu Yuanzhou's room, but this room was deliberately decorated by Tian Shufang and her family, and the decoration inside was also very feminine. Nanan liked this room very much, so Gu Yuanzhou directly booked this room as the wedding room. Shen Minggu saw everything, and her mind was full of thoughts. Gu Yuanzhou was so good to her, so good to an absurd degree that it made her feel unreal. How can there be no good without reason in this world? Even if she is Ji Yuhonggen's wife, Gu Yuanzhou would not do this Shen Mingyu was so panicked that she started to think of conspiracy theories. But Nenan likes Gu Yuanzhou very much, and now she even dares to ask for a hug. Since Shen Mingyu is married to Gu Yuanzhou, the daughter will be adopted directly by Zhu Jianjian, and others want her to call Gu Yuanzhou father instead of second uncle in the future. Gu Yuanzhou is very tolerant of Nanan and is rarely seen in such a friendly manner. Zhou Xiaofei came back exhausted, and as soon as he entered the living room, he saw this dazzling scene. Gu Yuanzhou was holding a little girl in his arms, and a tall, strange woman was standing beside him. The woman looked at them from the side with a smile on her lips. Zhou Xiaofei's head exploded with a buzzing sound. Is this the country bumpkin Gu Sisi mentioned? This is clearly a foxy girl. Didn't she grow up in the countryside? Why is her skin so white and her hair so fine? And what does that smile mean? Is he trying to seduce Gu Yuanzhou? Zhou Xiaofei almost couldn't catch his breath. When Tian Shufang and the others saw Zhou Xiaofei coming back, they hurriedly greeted him with a smile. Zhao Fai Yi, you're back? Have you eaten? Are you hungry? Mom will make you a bowl of noodles. Although Zhou Xiaofei is their adopted child, the couple has always treated her equally. After all, Zhou's father has done a lot for their family, and they treat Xiaofei as their own daughter. She has been raised by the Jiyu family since she was 12 years old. So when Tian Shufang saw her come back, she looked concerned. Shen Mingyu heard the noise and looked over subconsciously. Only then did Zhou Xiaofei see Shen Mingyu's face clearly. Although he could guess that this woman was good-looking by looking at her profile, he didn't expect her face to be so stunning. At that time, regular beauty was in fashion. Girls with thick eyebrows, big eyes, and a well-proportioned figure were very popular among gay men. Shen Mingyi is different. Her eyebrows are curved, but they are even her eyes are not big, but long and narrow, with double eyelids that are upturned at the ends. Even her mouth has a lip bead. When combined together, she is even more charming. Even without expression, she is still very attractive. This kind of beauty is different from the beauty that everyone recognizes nowadays, but you cannot deny her beauty. Because once a person's appearance reaches its peak, it is indisputable. Zhou Xiaofei looked at this face and forgot to answer Tian. Sparks were coming out of his eyes. Shen Mingyu raised her eyebrows slightly. It turned out that this girl was the adopted daughter of the Jiyu family. Judging from her expression, she was probably not a good person. She sighed slightly. Everyone says that the city is good and the Jiyu family is rich, but it is not easy to get along with this family. As a newcomer, I have a sister-in-law who looks down on others and a brother-in-law who calls me a slut. Now, there is a difficult adopted daughter. Although my parents-in-law are okay, my life in the future will definitely not be smooth sailing. When Tian Shufan saw Zhou Xiaofei staring at Shen Mingyu, she suddenly reacted, "Oh, I forgot to introduce you. This is Min." You can just call her second sister-in-law. When Zhou Xiaofei heard the name second, she almost broke down on the spot. But at this time, she also realized that everyone was looking at her and forced a smile on her face. "Mom, I get it. You just asked me if I wanted to eat noodles. I'm really a little hungry." Tian Shufan didn't think much and went straight to the kitchen. Zhou Xiaofei walked towards Jiyu. When Gu Yuanzhou saw his sister coming back, He smiled and nodded at her. Thank you for your hard work. You have to ask for leave to come back from your business trip. I hope it didn't interfere with your work. Zhou Xiaofei looked at Gu Yuanzhou's face and felt her heart bleeding. Chapter 10. Why does this man care about everyone? What a handsome face it is, and it is what she has been thinking about since she was 12 years old. She originally thought that Gu Yuanzhou would not consider finding a partner until many years later. After all, he had always focused on his career. No matter how many female comrades showed interest in him, he politely rejected them all. He never expected that the flower of high mountain that he had guarded for so many years would be picked by such a woman. Naturally, there is no place to express the pain in my heart. Second brother, don't delay. Nothing is more important than your business. Gu Yuanzhou patted her shoulder with a look of brotherly kindness on his face. Girl, go eat first. Zhou Xiaofei looked at Gu Yuanzhou again before leaving. Shen Mingyu could see that in the eyes of this girl, she was nothing but air. She didn't even look at her when she came over. Gu Yuanzhou was afraid that Shen Mingyu would not understand the complicated situation at home, so he gave a brief overview in a low voice. Shen Mingyu nodded, indicating that she understood. Zhao Fei is well-behaved and sensible, unlike Shen Mingyu thought. This man looks quite smart. Could it be that he has no feelings at all? After just a brief encounter, she felt that Zhou Xiaofei was an extraordinary woman. Compared with Jiu Sisi, her methods must be much more sophisticated. Otherwise, an adopted daughter is an outsider after all. How could the whole Jiu family have such a good impression of her without some ability? Zhou Xiaofei was absent-minded while eating, her mind full of Shen Mingyu, whom she had just seen. She was filled with anger and unwillingness at the moment, but she had no choice. At the same time, I also silently warned myself to stay calm, and that impulse would not solve anything. Gu Yuanzhou was willing to marry her, but it must be out of helplessness. Their marriage might not last long, and who knows what the future will be like. Just as I was thinking about it, I saw Jiu Sisi running over. Seeing Zhou Xiaofei coming back, Jiu Sisi seemed to have seen a savior. She hugged her and told her about the grievances she had suffered in the past 2 days. Sister Xiaofei, you don't see how annoying that woman is? I'd be pissed off if I had to live under the same roof with someone like her. Do you have any way to get rid of her? Or maybe tell my second brother not to marry her? Sister Xiaofei, you're the smartest one. You don't want my second brother to marry a woman like that, do you? Zhou Xiaofei looked at Jiu Sisi and made his own plans in his mind. It is impossible to ask her to object. Besides, even if she objects, her words will not carry any weight. Under what circumstances can the wedding of two people be ruined? Zhou Xiaofei thought about it again and again, but finally lost his temper. No matter how hard he tried, it would be in vain for something that the entire Jiu family agreed to. Unless something major happens, the outcome cannot be changed. Sissy! Don't say that. Since second brother has already agreed, he must have his own ideas. We don't need to worry about it. Seeing Jiju Jinjin coming, Zhou Xiaofei hurriedly spoke in a soft voice. Jiu Sisi's expression changed, and before she could speak, her father's voice came. Look at how sensible Zhao Fei is, and then look at what you look like. Your mother and I have taught you to be well-educated and well-mannered since you were young. But at your age, you are still so reckless. This kind of scene often happens in the Gu family that is praising Zhou Xiaofei and scolding Gu Sissy. Gu Sissy snorted in dissatisfaction and said nothing more. After dark, the Gu family had almost finished their arrangements, and all that remained for tomorrow were some odds and ends. Zhou Xiaofei cooked dinner in the evening in order to please Gu's father and mother. She developed good cooking skills and also used this trick to win over many people's hearts when everyone gathered together for dinner. Gu Sissy deliberately held Zhou Xiaofei in her arms and looked at Shen Mingyu with an innocent look. Second sister-in-law. Can't you cook? You don't go to school in the village. You don't have a job. And you don't even have to cook. You're much happier than us. I still have to go to school every day. Look at Sister Xiaofei. In addition to attending classes at school, she also has to cook when she gets home. Shen Mingyu heard the hidden meaning in her words and was not fooled. How many people are there in the Gu family? If I count on my fingers, there are 8 people, including her and Nanan. Cooking for them is very troublesome. Her time is useful and should be used for important things. Although her cooking is delicious, who is the idiot who rushes to do housework? I can cook, but I'm not very good. If you don't mind, Sissy, I'll cook for everyone tomorrow. Shen Mingyu said this casually, and Tian Shufeng beside her also laughed and laughed. As a family, you don't have to worry about it. It doesn't matter who cooks. Mingyu, you're pregnant now, so just be considerate. It's okay, Mom. I'll cook for lunch tomorrow. Tian Shufeng stopped talking. After hearing this, she had been planning to let Shen Mingyu do some housework. Otherwise, what was the point of staying at home all the time? Was she considered a mascot? Gu Yuanzhou saw everything but said nothing. Zhou Xiaofei was proud in her heart. It was just a pretty face. In this family, you won't get respect from others just by relying on your looks. How can you compare with a rural woman who can't even cook? After dinner, Shen Mingyu helped wash the dishes. Gu Yuanzhou did not stop him today. Everyone had been busy all day recently, and washing dishes was not a hard job. However, when Shen Mingyu was washing the dishes, he still went into the kitchen to help dry them. When Zhou Xiaofei saw this scene, his eyes turned red. A country bumpkin who needs her second brother's help to wash dishes. Does she really think she is a rich lady? After Gu Yuanzhou came out from washing the dishes, Zhou Xiaofei found an excuse and said that she wanted to talk to him. Gu Yuanzhou didn't think much about it and followed her out of the yard. After going out, Zhou Xiaofei asked about Shen Ming. Second brother, tell me the truth. Are you really willing to marry her? Is there any difficulty? Gu Yuanzhou always treated her as his own sister, and when he heard her ask this, he knew that she was concerned about him. I volunteered. What's wrong, Xiaofei? Did Sassy tell you something? When Zhou Xiaofei heard his answer, the words she had prepared were choked back. The other person had already said yes. What else could she say? If you talk nonsense, you will be in trouble if your parents hear you. Nothing. Just wishing you a happy wedding in advance. Gu Yuanzhou smiled and said, You are sensible. It's getting late. Go to bed early. You have to get up early tomorrow. Zhou Xiaofei looked at his back as he left, her nails almost scratching her palms. The next morning, everyone was busy again. Around noon, Shen Mingyu prepared to cook. When they were almost in the kitchen, Gu Yuanzhou followed her and even leaned close to her ear and whispered, You can use less salt and oil when cooking at noon. Shen Mingyu was a little surprised. Why? Just listen to me. Shen Mingyu nodded said nothing, and went into the kitchen to get busy. Chapter 11. Does this man have this side? When cooking, she deliberately played around and made the dishes taste a little unpacked, so that she wouldn't have to cook so often in the future. There is a saying that goes, those who are capable should do more work. You are the one who cooks the best food in the family. If you don't do it, who will? Shen Mingyu didn't want to take on all these tasks herself. She wanted to gain a foothold in the Gu family first, and then she would prepare to go out and find a job. At that time, in addition to taking care of the children, I also have to do laundry and cook, let alone finding a job. I won't even have time for a lunch break. Thinking of this, the two sentences Gu Yuanzhou just said suddenly came to my mind, and I suddenly had a guess. When she was eating yesterday, she found that the Gu family's taste was not bland, and it was all normal. But just now, Gu Yuanzhou actually asked her to use less oil and salt when cooking, which is obviously not to everyone's taste. So why did he do this? The answer is obvious. As Shen Mingyu thought about it, she couldn't help but curl up the corners of her mouth. When she reacted, the vegetables in the pot were a little burnt. She quickly stir-fried them a few times and took them out of the pot. At this time, the Gu family was already waiting at the dining table. Gu Sisi was bored and thought that Shen Mingyi would do her best to cook this meal. After all, she was not of much value, so if she could cook delicious food, it would be a strong point. But Shen Ming disappointed her after all. When she put a few dishes on the table, the Gu family fell silent. My goodness, what is this black, sloppy thing? It makes me lose my appetite just by looking at it. Is this how rural people cook? It feels like feeding pigs. When Zhou Xiaofei saw the food on the table, a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. I thought to myself, this woman is really useless except for her face. She can't even cook like this. How is she going to stay in the Gu family in the future? Gu Sisi was also surprised. She thought Shen Mingyu would behave well, but she didn't expect her to fool them with this table of pig food. After Shen Mingyu sat down, she looked at her in-laws with an apologetic look. Dad, Mom, I'm really sorry. I'm used to living in the countryside and haven't eaten anything good. I usually just have potatoes and cabbage. I'm not good at cooking meat. I tried my best to prepare this meal today. Shen Mingyu looked very anxious, as if she was about to cry in the next second. Seeing this, Tianshu Feng and the others felt too embarrassed to blame them and hurriedly spoke out to comfort them. It's okay. It's okay. We are very satisfied with your kindness. Let's eat quickly. Shen Mingyu looked grateful and said a few nice words before picking up the chopsticks. Gu Yuanzhou sat next to her with his head down, the corners of his mouth unable to help but rise. He was smart, but Shen Mingyu was even smarter. He had only told her to use less oil and salt, but she had still managed to cook the dish like this. I guess no one will use her to cook anymore. The Gu family members started to use their chopsticks. And the next second, their chewing movements all slowed down simultaneously. Not only does it look ugly, it also tastes light and bland. It's simply inedible. Gu Injin and the others were fine, as they managed to keep their composure. However, Gu Sisi, standing by, wasn't so aware and simply spat out the food in her mouth. Is this edible? The food fed to pigs in the countryside tastes better than this, right? I'm so impressed. When she said this, everyone was embarrassed for a moment. Zhou Xiaofei laughed secretly in his heart. but advised Gu. Sissy, don't say that. Second, sister-in-law has done her best. Sister Xiaofei, your cooking is still the best. Hers can't even compare to yours. Gu Sissy hugged Zhou Xiaofei's arm and complained continuously. Zhou Xiaofei was secretly happy when he heard himself being praised, but he still spoke modestly. Shen Mingyu sneered at the side. Laugh, laugh, laugh. Now, while you can still laugh. From now on, you will become a housewife, cooking every day, and you will have no place to cry. Okay, kid, you're such a rude kid. Your sister-in-law has done her best. Let's eat like this for now. Tian Shufeng tried to smooth things over, and the family had a very painful meal together. After dinner, Shen Mingyu naturally wouldn't wash the dishes. She had spent all her energy cooking today, so why should she wash the dishes? He immediately carried his daughter back to the room. Gu Yuanzhou had a smile on his face and followed Shen Mingyu. Only after seeing Shen Mingyu return to the room did Tian Shufeng and the others speak. Zhao Shen's cooking is terrible. The food is totally inedible. I guess I can't let her cook in the future. It's just a waste of food. Zhou Xiaofei was listening from the side and almost clapping. This woman is really shrewd and doesn't know how to save face for herself at all. At this moment, the impression she gave to everyone was probably that of a useless vase. When she gives birth to the baby in her belly, Gu Yuanzhou can file for divorce with her, and then he can just chase the mother away while keeping the baby. As Shen Mingyu returned to the room and sat down, she heard a knock on the door. She opened the door and saw that it was Gu Yuanzhou, so she let him in. Gu Yuanzhou glanced at her and still found it funny. Without saying a word, he gave her a thumbs up. Shen Mingyu didn't say anything, just raised her eyebrows at him. Everything is implied without words, and there is perfect understanding. Rest more today. Tomorrow will be a busy day. The wedding is going to be held tomorrow, so we have to get up early in the morning. By the time we finish everything, it will be afternoon at the earliest. Shen Mingyu is a pregnant woman and cannot be too tired. Good. Gu Yuanzhou didn't leave in a hurry. He sat down and played with Nanan for a while. If you encounter any difficulties, just tell me. Don't be shy. Shen Mingyu glanced at him and nodded silently. Goods. After staying for a while, Gu Yuanzhou went out. When Zhou Xiaofei saw him coming out of Shen Mingyu's house, a flash of jealousy and hatred flashed in his eyes. But he still called him second brother sweetly on his face. When Shen Mingyu went out to the bathroom, she was blocked at the door by Zhou. Without outsiders present, Zhou Xiaofei seemed less easy to get along with. She looked at Shen Mingyu with a forced smile. Sister Mingyu, just now, when you went back to your room, we were sitting together and chatting. I didn't expect you couldn't even cook. Logically, this is none of my business, but I still couldn't help but give you a few words of advice. My brother is a diplomat, the youngest counselor in. He originally wanted to find a partner of equal status, but now he's married to you. Even though you're not educated, you should at least be able to take care of him in terms of food, clothing, and daily life. Zhou Xiaofei didn't say a single dirty word, but every word revealed his contempt. To put it bluntly, I feel that Shen Mingyu is not worthy of Gu. Of course, Shen Mingyu also understood that even if Zhou Xiaofei came to her to provoke her, she couldn't find anyone to complain. Otherwise, Zhou Xiaofei would definitely say that she had good intentions, but Shen Mingyu didn't appreciate it. Chapter 12. Wedding night with Counselor Gu Zhu. Fei, don't bother with this. When your second brother and I become husband and wife, we will see each other through our lives. It always takes a period of adjustment. Maybe your second brother doesn't need a wife like this. What you said is just your one-sided imagination. Shen Mingyi said this lightly, then walked around Zhou Xiaofei and returned to the room. Zhou Xiaofei was stunned on the spot. Shen Mingyu's answer was different from what she had imagined. Her words were very logical and did not sound like something an uneducated rural woman would say. By the time she reacted, Shen Mingyu had already returned to the room. The anger in her heart grew stronger and stronger. Zhou Xiaofei couldn't understand why she was so proud. As long as she was in this family, she would squeeze this woman out sooner or later. After some final arrangements in the afternoon, everything was ready. In the evening, it was finally time for the part that Shen Mingyu was most looking forward to, which was giving the betrothal gift, Minggu. This is 888. Since your parents won't be coming to the wedding tomorrow, I'll give the betrothal money directly to you. We don't know what the customs are over there, but here this amount is already quite large and is also a relatively auspicious number. It was only 1980, and a dowry of more than 800 yuan was already very generous. Some women in the countryside didn't even need a dowry when they got married and just gave 2 bags of Fukiang powder. The Jiyu family is indeed a wealthy family. With the 800 yuan in hand, Shen Mingyu is no longer so panicked and no longer needs to worry about money. Although the Jiyu family is rich, it is impossible for them to give her money for no reason, but she can distribute the betrothal gift freely. Thank you, Mom. Everyone knows my situation. I really can't afford a dowry right now. I'll make up for it when I make some money. Zhu Sisi and Zhou Xiaofei looked at the thick stack of money and felt so distressed. A piece of trash like this deserves such a large amount of betrothal gifts. Giving her 88 is already a compliment to her. Her parents are really too lenient with her. And what about supplementing the dowry? That's pure bullshit. How can you make money if you can't even cook? Who can't brag? But these words were still quite useful to Tian Shufang and the others. As long as you have this intention, it's fine. As for whether there's a dowry or not, it doesn't matter. We're all family. So why would you bother with these things? Shen Mingyu responded obediently and even looked at her family members in a much more pleasing way. Money talks. So what does it matter if I give her trouble as long as I have money? After returning to the bedroom, Shen Mingyu hugged her daughter and smiled. Nanan, we have money now. Mom will use the money to start some business and make a lot of money for you to spend. Okay? When Nanan saw Shen Mingyu happy, she felt happy too. Okay? Mom will definitely make a lot of money. Shen Mingyu went to bed early that night and woke up at 5 o'clock the next day. The Jiyu family asked someone to put on makeup for her. At that time, the makeup was all heavy with a red mouth and curved eyebrows. Although there was no special technique, it looked quite festive and gorgeous. Shen Mingyu still liked it very much. Then her hair was tied up with a big red flower in it. The clothes she wore were bought by her mother-in-law, a red cheongzam, which made her figure more exquisite. Shen Mingyu has a thin waist and big breasts, and she looks very elegant in cheongzam. When she came out of the house, everyone was stunned. This was the most beautiful bride they had ever seen. Like a movie star. Gu Yuanzhou was also slightly stunned. He obviously didn't expect that Shen Mingyu could reach a new level of beauty with makeup on. Gu Yuanzhou, who was standing aside, also stared blankly at everything with his eyes wide open. Zhou Xiaofei naturally noticed the change in the man's eyes and his face turned ugly. Ji Yu Sissy muttered beside her, Fox spirit, who are you showing off to by dressing so seductively? How shameless. And your breasts are so big. Are you putting 2 steamed buns inside? As he spoke, he looked down at himself, and unexpectedly, he saw the tip of his shoe, which made him even more angry and embarrassed. Zhou Xiaofei, who was standing by, heard what Zhu Sisi said and expressed his full agreement. The Jiyu family's wedding was not very grand. After all, it was not a big happy event and was somewhat absurd. They only invited some close family members. The old man and others also came. When they saw Shen Mingqiu, they smiled and nodded repeatedly. Ever since he learned that he had a great-grandson to hold him, the old man suddenly became energetic and vigorous. Now, he can run and jump and can eat 2 large bowls of rice at one meal. It seems that all his illnesses are gone. The old lady originally cared about her husband first. Seeing that her husband's health had improved because of her granddaughter-in-law, she also loved Shen Mingyu as well. I even brought her a bracelet today. Gu Yuanzhou was wearing a Zhongshan suit and stood there like a straight poplar, exuding a natural temperament from head to toe. All the young ladies and wives present couldn't help but take a few more glances at her. Although Songzu was unwilling, she still came. When she saw Gu Yuanzhou and Chen Mingyu saluting, she felt her heart was broken. Although Shen Mingyu was wearing flat shoes, she was exhausted after such a lengthy process. After eating, drinking tea, and toasting with the guests, it was already 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Shen Mingyu naturally couldn't drink alcohol, so she drank tea. Gu Yuanzhou couldn't escape it either. After all, he was a grown man, so he had to drink a few cups. When everyone saw the two getting married, although they didn't say anything, they had their own thoughts in their hearts. Most of them thought that the Jiyu family was crazy to do such an outrageous thing. It's a pity for Gu Yuanzhou that he married an illiterate rural man. Before the guests outside had left, Shen Mingyu had already returned to the bridal chamber to rest. She took off her shoes and sat on the bed, eating the prepared meal. She thought to herself that getting married was so troublesome. Aren't those who always get married and divorced tired? Because it was a happy occasion, Nanan stayed with her grandparents and did not stay with her at night. After all, how could a couple spend their wedding night with a child between their legs on the bed? That would be too inappropriate. When Gu Yuanzhou came in, Shen Mingyu was eating with big mouthfuls of food, her mouth bulging like a mouse. Do you have any more chopsticks? I'm hungry too. Gu Yuanzhou sat down on the edge of the bed and said. Shen Mingyu took a pair of chopsticks from the side and handed them to him. Eat it. Gu Yuanzhou was indeed a little hungry, but when he saw Shen Mingyu sitting on the bed eating, his brows frowned slightly. Let's get out of bed and eat. Shen Mingyu is usually very particular, but today she was really tired, so she ate by the bed. When she heard what Gu Yuanzhou said, she didn't get angry, but put on her shoes and went out. The two of them sat at the table eating, and Gu Yuanzhou was thinking about how to start the conversation. He had to tell Shen Mingyu about the child. Shen Mingyu was already divorced at that time, and the two of them were considered to be legitimate. If things could be sorted out earlier, there wouldn't be so much trouble in the future, and the two of them could just live together peacefully. Chapter 13. The doctor said it's okay to have sex. Shen Mingyu was puzzled when she saw Gu Yuanzhou's hesitant look. What's wrong? Gu Yuanzhou glanced at Shen Mingyu, seeming to want to say something but stopping himself. Shen Mingyu hated this the most. A grown man should just say what he wanted to say. What was the point of hesitating like that? Just say what you want to say. His tone became noticeably colder, a bit impatient. Gu Yuanzhou suddenly didn't want to say anything. With Shen Minggu's personality, if he said it, he was afraid that there would be a quarrel on the wedding day and it would be embarrassing. This matter needs to be considered carefully, and we LL have to find a suitable time to discuss it. After all, although the two are not close now, at least there is no direct conflict. Once things are exposed, it will be even more difficult to get along with each other. Gu Yuanzhou is exceptionally good in the areas he excels in, but he is very bad at getting along with men and women. Nothing. You've worked hard today. Go to bed early. Hearing Gu Yuanzhou say this, Shen Mingyu couldn't help but think that today was their wedding night. And from today on, she would sleep with this man. Shen Mingyu felt indescribably complicated at the thought of having a strange man lying next to her in the future. Although she had lived with Ji Hongbin before, the two had no close contact at all. Why not? Because after giving birth, Ju Hongbin's wife discovered that Ju Hongbin's sexual performance was not good, and she was also wronged by her husband's family, so she abandoned the child and ran away secretly. Ji Hongbin earned some money by doing hard labor and wanted to marry another wife so that she could be better to his daughter. So he spent a lot of money to marry the original owner. After marrying the original owner, he was unable to have sex, so he felt guilty towards her. Later, Shen Minggu came through and that kind of thing happened. Ju Hongbin also knew about it. At that time, the two had already divorced. Ju Hongbin thought it was God's will. Maybe God would arrange a good man for Shen Minggu. He did not blame Shen Minggu too much, but comforted him instead. Shen Minggu was touched by Ji Hongbin's tolerance. So even after the divorce, she did not leave in a hurry. She simply stayed to take care of the child and was especially good to her daughter. After all, there was no one to take care of Ju Hongbin at that time, and she couldn't just watch the child starve. She simply couldn't do that in this feudal era. If Ju Hongbin goes out and talks nonsense, she will definitely have a hard time. So she was grateful to Jigu. When they were in the countryside, they got along like friends and were rare confidants. Shen Mingyu withdrew her thoughts and couldn't help but look at Gu Yuanzhou beside her. Gu Yuanzhou is different. Although he looks like an ascetical cadre, he should be fine in that aspect. Does this mean that the two have to have intimate behavior on their wedding day? At this time, there are many men and women who go on blind dates. Some of them get married after just a few meetings, have children soon after marriage, and live happily. Shen Mingyu was somewhat unable to accept it. Intimacy without any emotional basis seemed like a transaction and was always somewhat reluctant. But for someone like Gu Yuanzhou, it seems that Qi is not at a disadvantage either. Her best friend had taken her to find a male model before, but the money she spent was not enough for the quality. If someone like Ji Yuanzhou went there, he would probably be the top model in 2 days. Thinking of this, Shen Minggu couldn't help but curl the corners of her mouth. Gu Yuanzhou had been watching her expression change, and seeing this, he couldn't help but ask softly, "Is there something happy?" Shen Minggu didn't dare to tell the truth. If Gu Yuanzhou knew that she compared him to a duck, he would probably be furious. However, this man probably didn't understand this. Nothing. Then I'll wash up and go to bed early. Shen Mingyu was indeed tired. After a busy day, her feet were sore. She got up and went out to wash up, removed her makeup, and applied a large amount of cold cream on her face, massaging it carefully. Only then did Shin Mingyu slowly prepare to go back to the house.